Good morning, students. Again, welcome back. Now, I hope my audio, video, screen, everything is visible to you. So, without any further waiting, let's directly jump into the discussion part. Let's start with question number 1. List the major features of banking business. So when I talk about banking business, what comes to your mind? That is the question. Very simple question, very general question. Point number one is, when we talk about banking business, we speak about the custody of large volume of monetary items. Okay. So there is a huge locker, and in that locker, there is a huge amount of cash which is kept. So we are talking about, when we speak about banks, there is a lot of cash dealings what takes place on a daily basis. And that is where the physical security should be ensured by keeping the cash in a proper locker. That is the point number 1. Point number 2 is dealing in large volume of transactions. So there is large amount of transaction, not just cash dealing. So a bank may have 100 branches, and this 100 branches may have thousands customers each. So in every branch, there may be 1,000 customers, and this 1,000 customers on a daily basis may enter into so many transactions, purchasing from Zomato, purchasing from Flipkart, purchasing from Amazon. So all these online transactions, or sometimes paying money to your friend, your employees. So all these transactions gets recorded in the banking business. Third feature is it operates through a wide network of branches. Okay, so it is a very simple point. So it is not that a bank has only its head office and only from the head office it functions. No, it is that a head office has branches and the customers go to branch to do their business activities. And these days they don't usually go to the branches. What they do is they use the internet banking facility to carry on their banking business. Next one is, when we talk about banking business, there is increased possibility of fraud. So every now and then when you look at when you read newspapers, you will get to know that there is increased possibility of fraud. Okay, so it could be ATM fraud, or it could be somebody randomly calling you and saying that he's calling from some bank and he's asking you to give your debit card number, your PIN number, and he is going to withdraw your money. So all these things are part and parcel of banking business. Okay, so just because there is, so I said, what is the risk here? The risk is increased possibility of fraud. This is the risk. And what is the control? The control is the banks should provide multi-point authentication. Multi-point authentication means what? Now, first thing is, you are supposed to, now let us go back and understand how do you order food from Swiggy or Zomato. First is whatever the selecting the food part is concerned. Then when we are talking about payment, let's say you choose pay through debit card. So you're supposed to put your debit card, you're supposed to put your expiry date, you're also supposed to put your CVV number. So once you put that CVV number, does the amount directly get deducted from your bank account? No. One OTP will come to your mobile. Then once you enter that, then the transaction will get processed. So this is called as multi-point authentication. Okay, at multiple point authentication happens that it is you who is trying to make payment from your bank account. So these are the features of banking business. That is question number 1. Let's quickly go to question number 2. Okay, so what is question number 2? Question number 2 is about write short notes on following activities of banks. You are supposed to write short notes on following activities of bank. The first activity, what normally banks do, and I'm not going to explain it in detail because as a commerce student, I expect you to know it already. First one is, when you go to bank, what do? They accept the deposits. Different types of deposits. It could be fixed deposits, or it could be savings bank, or it could be current account. So current account is not about deposit, but yeah, FD or SB, or you can keep something called as RD, that is recurring deposits, and for which bank will pay you some amount of interest. Okay, that is the first point. Second activity, what banks normally do is granting of advances. Now, what do you mean by granting of advances? Granting of advances means giving loan. Okay, so banks give loan. So there are different types of loan. Okay, can you think of some loans that you have heard of? Okay, it could be vehicle loan, it could be educational loan, or it could be mortgage loan. So mortgage loan means you keep your immovable property. You keep your immovable property. For example, your land, your building, your house, and on that you take loan. This also bank says. Then bank also gives loan on your movable property. Okay, for example, your vehicle, we call it as hypothecation. Okay, so bank even hypothecates your assets. Okay, next, bank will also give loan on movables like gold. So gold, what do? They keep the custody of the gold, and against the value of the gold, they will give you loan. So even giving loan is a banking activity. But what I want you to understand here is there are two types of what do I say? Okay, so here, if you can see the screen, they're talking about funded limits and non-funded limits. Okay, now what is the difference between this funded and non-funded? So in funded, actual money goes out from the bank. Actual money goes out from the bank. So if you're borrowing vehicle loan, I'm going to give you money. If you're borrowing gold loan, I'm actually giving you money. If you're borrowing mortgage loan, I'm actually giving you money. So this is called as funded limits. Okay. Next one is there is something called as letter of credits or guarantees. These are non-funded. Now, let's take one example to understand exactly what do you mean by guarantee. Okay, what do you mean by guarantee? Let us say, let me take back to GST. So in GST, what they say is, let us say this is Mr. A, okay, who is a seller. Mr. A is a seller and Mr. B is a buyer. So Mr. A has sold, okay, has sold 100 computers to Mr. B. Now, Mr. A's place and Mr. B's place are at a different location. Let's say the distance is 100 kilometers. So now computer has to go from A's place to B's place. So A has loaded these computers into one truck. Okay, he has loaded the entire computers into one truck, and the truck is going from point A to point B. But in the middle, some officer stops. Some officer stops the vehicle. Okay, which officer? GST officer stops the vehicle and he says, you know, your invoice is not proper. Your invoice is not proper. Your e-way bill is not proper. Or in simple words, some documents are not proper. Some documents are not proper. I am going to seize this vehicle. Seize this vehicle means he is going to take that vehicle and go to keep in his department. Okay. So now Mr. A will go and say, officer, sir, what you have done is wrong. You know, I have actually paid all the taxes, properly have declared everything. The officer will say, no, nothing doing. The vehicle is going to be here until everything is clear for me. Okay. Now it may take, let us say 2 months. It may take 2 months for the officer to get a clear picture as to whether everything is happening properly or not. But Mr. A don't want his all the 100 computers to be a department for all the 2 months. So what he is going to do is, he will say, see, the department officer says, I'll give you two options. Either pay 5 lakh rupees immediately. And take your vehicle. Or give me a bank guarantee. Now, so Mr. A has two options, either to immediately pay 5 lakh rupees or give a bank guarantee. Now, 5 lakh rupees paying immediately, that you understand, taking from the pocket, paying to the officer. Now, what do you mean by bank guarantee? So bank guarantee means A will go to the bank. Okay, he will talk to the branch manager and he will say, look, the officer is asking 5 lakh rupees. Okay. Now, whether I should pay him or not, it will be decided only after 2 months once he completes his assessment. Till then, I want you to give him a guarantee. So bank is going to give the guarantee to the GST officer, saying that after 2 months, if amount is really payable, the bank will pay. Now you may ask, why would bank pay on behalf of me? That is because I will first go and deposit money in the bank. I will go first and deposit money in the bank. Let's say 5 lakh rupees in the bank, and the bank will issue one document, a bank guarantee to this officer. Okay. So now here you tell me whether bank is actually paying money to that officer. No, they're actually giving you a guarantee. They're giving one receipt, one document. So this is called as non-funded limits. So here the bank is not actually making any payment, but it's simply saying that we will guarantee the payment. So if this guy had to pay and if he did not pay, you ask us, we will pay that amount to you. Okay. So this is also one of the functions of the bank. Next, Let's talk about collection. Now, banks also does collection activities. Now, what is this collection activities? Now, let us say that there is A and then there is again B. Okay. Now, going to the previous example only, A has sold 100 computers to B, and B has not done online transfer. He has not done online transfer, but instead, what he has done, he has actually given check. He has given check to Mr. A. Now, what A will do? A will go and put money. So A will go and deposit that check in his bank. Okay, let us say A has which bank? Let us say A for Andhra Bank. So A has his bank account in Andhra Bank, and B has his bank account in, let us say, Bank of Baroda. B for Bank of Baroda. Now, so what A is doing? A is going and depositing the check which is received by him in Andhra Bank. So then what Andhra Bank will do? Andhra Bank will send that check to Bank of Baroda, and Bank of Baroda will pay money to Mr. A. So now, who is doing this activity? The A's bank is doing the activity of collecting money from B's bank. So this is also one of the functions which is done by your banks. Okay. Now, there is one more function, something called as clearing function. Okay, there is something called as clearing function. Again, let us come back to the same example. Now, there is Andhra Bank and then there is Bank of Baroda. So here in between Andhra Bank and Bank of Baroda, there is going to be one more bank in real life. So this, let me call it as C for Canara Bank. C for Canara Bank. Now this Canara Bank is going to act like a clearinghouse. Okay, act like a clearinghouse. That means, so Andhra Bank will not directly ask Bank of Baroda to pay money. So what Andhra Bank will do is send that check to Canara Bank. Now Canara Bank, let us say it is a clearinghouse. Okay, it is clearinghouse. So in that locality, all the checks, let us say you are in Bangalore, one particular city. So in that city, no matter which bank issues check to any other bank, all the check comes to the clearinghouse, and all the clearing activity will take place in that bank. So that is called as clearing activity. That is also done by the banks itself. Now, one more function which banks does is remittance. Okay. Now remittance can happen in a different ways. Now in olden days, now every even if you want to register for CA course, now it is happening how? It is happening online. Okay, it happens online. You go, you open the website and you pay money. But earlier days, it was not online. You were supposed to draw DD. So you would go to bank, you stand in the queue, and when your turn comes, you are supposed to say, I want to draw a DD. To whom? To ICAI. Payable at, for all the southern students, it was payable at Chennai. So you pay, let us say 10,000 rupees was the registration charge for IPCC students, that is inter students. So you pay 10,000 rupees. They will give one receipt to you. That receipt was called as DD. So what would you do? Again, you would post. Okay, they will not send it to Chennai. What you would do is you would post this DD to Chennai. And in Chennai, ICAI would deposit in their bank, and their bank would give them 10,000 rupees. So this is one of the functions, that is DD. Then there are some aspects like bankers check, pay orders, telegraphic. All these things are not relevant now. So DD is still there. Then I would say, well, as far as transfer function is concerned, what we do is we use NEFT, we use RTGS. Now we use NEFT, RTGS. We also use something called as IMPS. Okay. So now NEFT is for the smaller transactions. Okay. If the amount is less than 2 lakh rupees, we use NEFT. And if the amount is more than 2 lakh rupees, we use RTGS. If you want to immediately, so in NEFT also, when you pay, it sometimes takes 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or to 2 hours to transfer money from one bank account to another account. But these days we use something called as IMPS. IMPS is immediate. Okay, so you just send and the money will be received by another person. Now, not only this, we are also using, you must be knowing it better, that you use UPI for transferring money from to one bank to another bank. So all those pay orders, telegraphic, mail transfers, all are now outdated technologies. Next, one more function done by bank is something called as credit card. Okay, so banks usually give you credit. So there are two types of cards what we get. One is debit cards and one is credit cards. So debit card means you need to have money in your bank first, then you can pay. Okay. So if I have 50,000 rupees in my bank account, then I can purchase only up to 50,000 rupees. So that is what debit card does to me. Now, credit card, what it says, it is nothing but loan which is given to you. Okay. So what do? You don't have even a single rupee with you, but you just go to one showroom and let us say you want to purchase some shoe, some clothing item, some watch, some phone. Then what do? You just swipe your card. Do you really have money in your bank account? No. Okay, you don't have money in your bank account, but still you can purchase. Then at the end of the month, you are supposed to repay this money back to the bank. So that is called as credit card. Okay, so banks offer both. They offer debit card also, they offer credit card also. Next, what are the other services? Not just this. There are certain other services which banks offer to you. One is called as retail banking. Now, retail banking in the sense, you will directly go to the bank and you will request some banking activities from them. For example, drawing a DD is one of those functions, which is a retail banking functions. Or else, let us say you want to deposit cash, you want to withdraw cash. That is also done by the banks. Then there is something called as HNI services. Now, who are these HNI services? HNI services means, see, normally, if let's say I have 1,000 crores of wealth with me, then I'm a HNI, that is high net worth individual. So now in my bank account, let us say there is 100 crore rupees balance. In my bank account, there is 100 crore rupees balance. At that time, I don't want simple your SB interest or FD interest. Okay. So at that time, bank will say they will manage my wealth. They will manage my wealth. They will put my money into some stock market, some different places. So this entire activity will be taken care by the bank itself. So I don't have to go to another wealth management company. So this is called as HNI services. Next is there is certain back operations also which happens. Okay, what is this back operations? For example, let us say, see, when you go to branch, you see managers and you see other employees. Now, all these managers and other employees usually talk to you. Okay, so we call them as customer faced, okay, or client faced work. So they actually look at the customer and they give services to the customer. But there are some back operation, that is, these employees you cannot see. Okay, so they don't sit in front. They have different office, but they also do some banking related activities only. We call them as back operations. Now in back operations, what do? They maintain accounting of the bank. They calculate interest, which is to be payable to each account. They do the tax, compliances. Let's say even bank has to do TDS, even the bank has to do GST. So all these things will be taken care by these back operations. More about it, we will talk. I guess there is one question as far as this back operations is concerned, we will take there. Then there are some specialized services also. Now, these days, banks are not just limited to banking activity, that is deposit and withdrawal. No, they're also offering you all sorts of services. For example, stock broking services. That is, what I'm aware of is in Axis Bank, you actually can purchase and sell shares. Okay, so they provide you that stock brokerage services, and then they also give you insurance. Okay, life insurance, health insurance, term insurance, everything is given these days by these banks itself. Now, so these are the specialized services which banks offer. Next one is risk management. Now, what is this risk management? So in banks, there is one separate department called as risk management department. What do? So what is the major risk for the branch? Okay, what is the major risk for a bank? The major risk for a bank is if you give loan and if people don't repay you, that is a risk for the bank. So every year, the risk management team, what do is they will analyze their existing loan customers. So let us say a bank has given loan to 10 people, all high net worth loans, that is everybody above 5 crore rupees. Now, this risk management team will actually look into those claims and they will say, okay, out of these 10 people, how many are not in the position to give you the money back? Okay, let us say 7 are in good position, but 3 are in bad position. Bad position means it is a risk indicator that they may not pay money to you. So the bank will try to, manage their risk, change the loan terms. All these things is done by one department. The department is called as risk management. So when we talk about bank, it is not just about giving you advances and giving you loan and taking deposits from you. There are thousands of functions which a bank does. So when you go to audit, you just should not look at what is the loan given by the bank and what is the deposits that is given, taken by the bank. So there are different areas that you need to look into. All right. So now let us go to the question number 3. If you have any questions, you can ask. Okay. All right. So now, so there are some questions or comments which are put by the students. That is, sir, can you please help us to remember all these points through acronyms and help us to present all points in examination? I'd say a way to, okay, now this is a very important discussion which I want to do, and I will not take more than 1 minute. See, as a CS student, as professional, as a part of the professional course, what one expects you to do even in real life is to really understand the concept. So once you understand the concept, then reproducing it will not be a difficult task. As far as acronym is concerned, acronym in the sense, making a phrase so that, you can remember and put all the points are concerned. Okay. So I'll consider this request and I'll try providing certain acronyms to you, but take my sincere suggestion to you, do not depend on these acronyms. Okay, you need to understand the concept, you need to reproduce it. This thing you can only do by repetition. You need to read it again and again. But as far as giving you the keyword is concerned or acronym is concerned, I will try and I'll try giving an updated notes which has acronym. Okay, next, let us go to question number 3. Let us go to question number 3. Give few examples of IT controls in banks. Now, there is a little bit of one small modification I need to do is change this question from IT controls, write it as internal controls. Okay, it is not IT control, it is internal controls. There is a typo. Now, even before I explain you the answer, one simple thing that you need to remember, do not confuse with what is IT control and what is internal control. Now, what is IT control? Now, IT control means, see, this one thing you should not get confused. IT control and internal control. So when I say IT, what is the full form of IT? IT full form is information technology. So here, only and only about technology we are talking. We are only talking about technology. But when I talk about internal control, I am not only talking about technology. I am talking about general control in general. Okay, for example, if I say, I give one statement and I want you to tell me if it is IT control or if it is internal control. If there is a statement, and the statement goes like this. So there is a bank locker in the bank, which has, let's say, huge amount of money. Okay. So now, 2 employees should have the keys to this bank locker. So this is the statement. So this this locker should not be opened by 1 employee. It should have 2 keys, and these 2 keys should be given to 2 different persons. Now you tell me, is this IT control or is this internal control? Is this IT control or is this internal control? I'm waiting for your answer. Okay, I got 1 answer. The answer is correct. This is internal control. It has got nothing to do with technology. All right. Now, let me say like this. One more example. All the activity by the staff should be recorded. Okay, recorded, the word what we use is logged. Okay, should be recorded by the software. So all the activities which is done by the staff should be recorded by the software. So if one person does something in the software, it should be recorded by the software regarding who did this. Now you tell me, is this IT control or is this internal control? What is your answer? Good. So I like the answer. The answer is it is IT control. So here I'm only talking about IT, that is information technology part. So here the control should be done with the help of technology. Here that is segregation of duties, giving two keys to different people. Then this is nothing to do with technology. This is a normal internal control. So here the question is, give some examples of internal control. So we are not talking about technology in particular. We are just talking about internal control. So here they are talking about work of one staff member is invariably supervised, checked by another staff member, irrespective of the nature of work. Okay, so that is called as maker checker. So, for example, let us say that you want to withdraw money. Okay, you want to withdraw money from your bank. So can you directly go and talk to cashier and he will give the cash? No. First thing is you are supposed to go to bank. You are supposed to fill in that one small piece of paper. Okay, what we call it as withdrawal slip. And this withdrawal slip, you are going to give it to some other employee first. That employee will look into it. He will see whether you have enough money in your bank account. He will see whether you are the right person to draw that money. Then he will put one seal and he will give that document to you. Then you are supposed to take the document to the cashier and give the document to the cashier. And cashier again will check whatever is done by the maker, that is the first employee. Then he will give the cash to you. So this is called as maker checker process. At the same time, again, if you want to deposit money to the bank, you can't directly go give money to the cashier and ask him to, add this money to my bank account. Or first thing is you're supposed to do a deposit slip, again give it to somebody, they will put the slip and you give them the money and they will give it to the cashier. So this is something called as maker checker. Earlier days when I used to be a school child, that is I used to go to school, I would find it very irritating. I would always question why two people can't one person do this job. But once you really understand why they are doing this, you feel like, okay, this is the right practice. Next internal control is a system of job rotation among staffs exists. So job rotation means, let us say in a bank, there is different departments. Let us say one department for the loan and another department is for, let us say for, recovery or forget recovery, deposits. So what is the function of the loan employee? It is to give loans. Okay, give loans. And deposit person is to bring more deposits, bring more FDs. So let us say there is one guy here called as Mr. A. Now, Mr. A, if he is in loan department only forever, then there is a possibility that he may do some arrangement, some setting with general customers and would simply go on giving loans. Even if they don't have valid documents, he would still give loans. That is where we do this. Which one? Job rotation. We do the job rotation. So today there is one employee who is there in loan department. Maybe after 2 months, that employee is put to some other department and new employee comes. So even if some previous employee has done some fraud, the new employee will get to know. That is the internal control, nothing to do with technology. See, it's so simple to remember. Next, financial and administrative powers of each official is fixed and communicated. So in banks, there is an internal control. That is, can a branch manager give 100 crore loan? No. Okay. So every bank will fix, okay, this branch manager can give, let us say, max to one customer 10 lakhs, not more than that. Okay. So this is decided by the bank and communicated to the branch. So they need to tell to the branch manager saying that if somebody applies for 50 lakh rupees loan, you cannot give it. You send it to your senior office, that is to regional office or to head office, and from the head office we will sanction that loan. Okay, so all this power should be communicated to the employee. Next, branch manager must send periodic confirmation to their controlling authority on compliance of the laid down systems and procedures. So there should be a mechanism there. There should be a mechanism in which the branch is communicating to the head office saying that we are actually following whatever you have asked us to follow. Now, how does this happen? This happens by way of having, I don't know, in your audit, you might have heard something called as concurrent audit. Have you heard something called as concurrent audit? Okay, so in concurrent audit, what happens is the head office appoints chartered accountants as auditors, and these auditors would do visit. These chartered accountants would go to these branches and do the audit of the entire month, and then they will send the report to the head office saying that whatever is told by the head office, whether it is followed or not followed. So if it is there, then the branch managers will always be scared of the auditors. Okay, they'll be like, if I do some mistake, then the auditor is going to point it out and talk, inform HO. So this system should be there. All the branch managers should feel that they're answerable to the head office. That is an internal control. Next, all books are to be balanced periodically. Balancing is to be confirmed by authorized officials. So, though banks use CBS, that is one software which does the entire job, you should not rely only upon that software. So, banks should actually prepare their books. They should confirm the balances. There are so many frauds. I wouldn't discuss those frauds in this class because it will take too much of time. But there are so many frauds happen because they did not balance their accounts. So one bank thought that another bank has to pay them so much of money, but another bank thought they did not have to pay any amount of money to the other bank. So this should not be done. So there should be a proper balancing. Inter-branch balancing should also happen on a regular basis. Then this is important. Details of loss security forms are immediately advised to the controlling authority so that they can exercise the caution. Now, what do you mean by security forms? Security forms basically means DD, okay, or it could be checkbook, or it could be debit cards, okay, not ATM cards, debit cards. So banks usually have custody of all these things, okay. They have DD with them, they have checkbook with them. Now let us say that one day somebody stole one checkbook, okay, and then he may use the checkbook to do some forgery. So the moment bank realizes that a checkbook is stolen or a DD, the entire bundle is stolen, they need to immediately inform their controlling authority, the head office, and the head office will block those check numbers or DD numbers. Okay, so these are the internal controls, nothing to do with technology. Now, this is the same point what we discussed. Fraud prone items like currency, valuables should be kept in dual custody. That is, one person should not have the key, two different people have to have the keys. Okay, so that is question number 3. Now, let us go to question number 4. Write a short note on implementing IT controls in bank. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about general points? Are we talking about general points? No, we are talking about specific points to technology. Okay, and this is a May 2019 question. So what are they asking? Write short note on implementing IT controls in banks. So first, what and all your software should be able to do, what and all your application should be able to do. Okay. Now, even without looking at any of these points, what are the things that should come to your mind? Okay, think about some points. Take 10 seconds and think about some points as to what this software should do. Then we will discuss the answer. Okay. So the first point says the system maintains a record of all logins and logouts. Okay, so now this only a software can do. This only a software can do. That is where it becomes IT control. So a bank has, let us say, 10 employees. Okay, I'm going to say one A, then B, then C, and so on. So one day A logs in at 9:30. B logs in at 10 o'clock, C logs in at some other time. Now, all this login, log out time should be recorded by the system. Who logged at what time? Now, the question is why. Let us say banking hours are between 9:30 to 5 o'clock. 9:30 to 5. Now, let us say one of your employee tried to log in at 8 p.m. Now, tell me, is it a normal transaction or is it a suspicious transaction? Who would do a banking activity at 8 p.m.? Normally, the banks should be closed by 5 o'clock. So, if the banks are open even at 8 p.m. and if one employee is trying to do login, then it is a suspicious activity. So, a software should record that which is this employee who tried to log in. Okay, that is the first IT control. Next IT control could be if the transaction is thought to be posted to a dormant account. Now, what is dormant account? Dormant account means, let us say, you are a branch manager. Okay, let us say this is the bank branch and you are a branch manager and there is one account by a customer called as A. Now, A had put money, how much? 10 lakh rupees 10 years back. And he has not done any other transactions at all. No, absolutely no transactions. So there is 10 lakh rupees in SB account. No transactions, no withdrawal, nothing. Suddenly, so in 2010 they have made the deposit, and in 2020, suddenly, all of a sudden, somebody tries to withdraw the money from that bank account. One person comes and gives that withdrawal slip and says, I want to withdraw all this 10 lakh rupees. Okay. Now, maybe this activity is done by the employee itself. Possibility is there, yes. So what would an employee think? So on a daily basis, bank employee is logging into the bank and he's seeing that there is one account in which there is 10 lakh rupees and nobody is coming to withdraw. Okay. So what he would do, he would tell his friend saying that, look, tomorrow you come as this person, this customer, Mr. A, and you give the withdrawal slip. And once you give the withdrawal slip, what am I going to do? I'm going to put the seal and give it back to you. You go and give it to cashier and cashier is going to give you money. Okay. So though you have internal control of maker checker, still two employees can collide with each other and withdraw this 10 lakh rupees. That is where one more control is required within the software itself. Okay, within the software itself. So software may flag an account as a dormant account if there is no transaction in that bank account, let's say for 6 months. So 6 months there is no deposit, no withdrawal happening. So the software will automatically classify it as a dormant account. Now, any transaction in the dormant account cannot be done by employees. It cannot be done by the employees. So if withdrawal has to happen, then maker and checker cannot be employees. It has to be one maker or one checker should be the branch manager himself. So this is the control which you build into the software, which is built into the software. So if somebody else wants to draw the money, can he do it? No, only with the approval of branch manager you can do it. So this is a IT control. This is a IT control. And remember one thing, all IT controls are internal controls. Okay, all IT controls are internal controls, but we are talking about software in particular here. Next, third point is the system checks whether the amount to be drawn is within the drawing power. Okay, now let us say I'll give a very simple example. I don't want to complicate this to you. A bank has given you an ATM card. Okay, and then they will say in a day you can draw 20,000 rupees of cash. You go to ATM, put 30,000 rupees. Will the machine give you that money? No. Okay, so do you think is it some person in the bank who is sitting and seeing one book and checking what is your drawing power? No, it is inbuilt into the software. So every time you put the amount, software will check whether this is within your drawing power. If it is not, the transaction gets rejected. Next, fourth point, the system flashes a message if the balance in a lien account would fall below the lien amount after processing the transaction. Now, what is lien account? Let us say, okay. So you have kept FD of 10 lakh rupees in bank. Okay. So what you have done is you have kept a FD of 10 lakh rupees in the bank. Now, one day you wanted money. You wanted money urgently, not entire 10 lakh rupees. You just wanted how much? You just wanted 2 lakh rupees of money. So you go to the bank and you ask, give me 2 lakh rupees. So bank will give that money as a loan to you, as a loan. Now, so how much you are supposed to pay to bank? You are supposed to pay bank 2 lakh rupees, and the bank is supposed to pay you 10 lakh rupees. But after a couple of days, again you go to bank, and you say, give my 10 lakh rupees back. So should bank give you 10 lakh rupees? No, bank should give you only how much? Bank should give you only 8 lakh rupees, because 2 lakh rupees already they have lien. What is lien? They have right over that 2 lakh rupees. Okay. So now, so the software should prompt. Okay. So when you give a withdrawal slip of entire 10 lakh rupees, even if cashier wants to give you 10 lakh rupees, the software should not allow. It should say on 2 lakh rupees there is lien. All that it can be given is 8 lakh rupees. So this should be done by the software itself. Next function number 5. Access to the system is available only between stipulated hours and specified days. That is, as I told you, between 9:30 to 6, if an employee comes, puts his password, the software should open. Or else, if he comes at 7 o'clock, software should say, revisit at the business hours. This is not a business hour. So if some employee comes on Sunday and tries to open it, again, the software should not allow him. Okay. Next. Individual users can access only specified directories and files. Users should be given access only on a need to know basis. Simple. Now, simple in the sense, okay, so let us say you are a cashier. So as a cashier, you need to know only a couple of things. One is, if somebody is trying to withdraw the money, you need to know whether they have that much of balance in the bank account. Only that information should be accessible to you. Okay. Now, as a cashier, should I be allowed to access, let us say, what is the manager's salary? No, I should. So all that information is there in that CBS. The CBS has all the information, but as a cashier, I should not be allowed to see salary details of the manager. All that I can see is what is the bank balance of the customer. So this, the software should be, the software should take care of this aspect. Next, let us talk about a user. Okay, exception situations like limit access, reactivating dormant account can be handled only with a valid supervisory level password. I told you. So we just discussed about reactivating dormant account, that somebody is coming and trying, let's say a genuine person comes who actually kept this 10 lakh rupees after 10 years and trying to withdraw the money. Then this can be only done by a valid supervisor, that is by a branch manager. Okay. Next, a user timeout is prescribed. Okay, so let us say I am a bank employee and I'm using the system and I'm actually doing some banking transaction, and suddenly I get a client call or somebody's call or call from my family. So what do? I leave the system like that only, and I will go and attend the call. Now, if I don't come back within, let's say, next 60 seconds, the system should be, there should be a timeout. The system should be auto locked. So this usually happens in your phone also. If you keep your phone on a table and you go somewhere, it will not be on forever. After 1 minute or 5 minutes, whatever your screen lock timing is there, after that your screen will be closed. So that is also nothing but an IT control. Next, once the end of day process is over, the ledger accounts cannot be opened without a supervisory level password. For example, let us say your bank is functional from 9:30 to 5. So at 5 o'clock, you have closed your banking functions. Okay, you have logged out from all the systems, and so you are almost about to go. Suddenly someone comes running and he says, there is an emergency payment I need to do. So can you transfer money from this bank account to other banks? Now, an employee should not be allowed to relog into the system, but instead you require the signature of the password of the manager. So that is also a IT control. Clear with this? Okay. Shall we go to question number 5? Okay. Read the question. Okay. The question is, differentiate between general controls and IT application controls. They're talking about differentiate between general controls and IT application control in the context of banking sectors. So only in respect to banking sector we are supposed to discuss. Now, we already discussed this. So I said internal control internal control can be broadly classified into, okay, I'll put it like this. So it is like internal control can be classified into general controls and IT controls. Okay, it can be classified into general controls and IT controls. Now, IT controls we discussed, this is only to do with the software. Now, what is general control? General control means other than software. Other than software. Okay. Now, for example, let us say, we'll just discuss directly. Let's go to the question. So they are talking about general controls and application control. Application control is nothing but IT control or software control, whatever it is. So everything to do with the software or technology part. So here, general controls. Let us talk about general controls first. So here we are talking about these are controls which pervade across different layers of IT environment and IT systems. These are the controls which pervade across different layers. Now, what do you mean by pervade? Pervade or pervasive means these are everywhere. So if I say air is pervasive, now air is everywhere. Okay. Sky is pervasive. Sky is everywhere. Same way, general control is pervasive. It is everywhere in the organization. It is not just in the software I'm talking about. It is everywhere in the organization. Now, scope. Their impact is macro in nature. So they are not just talking about one simple software. They're talking about entire organization put together. Okay. Next, what is the purpose? To meet overall objective of IT system. We will take example, then you will be able to understand this. Next point is to manage IT related risk effectively, to ensure that technology in use supports the business objectives. Now, let me give an example to you first. Now, say a bank has its branches. A bank has branches all over its country. But during this COVID times, the lockdown was imposed. Okay, lockdown was imposed. Now, the branches could not function. But at the same time, the government said essential activity can be performed. Essential activity can be performed. Now, essential activity was if you are manufacturing some food related items, even in the lockdown times, you could manufacture it and you could transport it. So purchase and sale of essential commodities were still allowed. Now, how can you do a purchase and sale without being able to make payment? So banking also became an essential activity, but if the banks were there in the contaminated area, so then you could not have opened the bank. So that means employees could not come back to the bank to work. So you would allow the employees to work from home. Now you think about this. In banks, you can put all the controls. Saying that the same employee should come at this time, he should log in, thumb impression, everything. But if employee is working at his home, how are you going to allow him to do a banking transaction when he is at his house? This is a very secure transaction. So all these things will be taken care of by general controls. So in general controls, what do? You prepare a manual, you prepare a book, you prepare one book, a small book which says what are the guidelines that an employee should follow whenever he is trying to log into the banking server or banking software or CBS from his house. Okay, what are the things that he's supposed to do? What are the things that he's not supposed to do? So this has got nothing to do with the software. Okay, they're not saying that, they're not talking about password, they're not talking about technology, but they are simply talking about what are the do's, what are the don'ts. So this is very general in nature. Okay, so that is what general control is. Now, if I'm talking about, let's say, application control. If I'm talking about application controls, these controls are inbuilt to the application. These controls are inbuilt to the application. We already discussed what are these. For example, passwords. Okay, without the proper password, the software should not open. The system should shut down, or timeout should happen after 30 seconds. So all these are application controls. So let us read about it. These are the controls which are implemented in an application to prevent or detect or correct errors. So if you try to do something which you are not allowed to do, the system will pop up and it will say this is an unauthorized transaction, you are not supposed to do it. So they pertain to the scope of individual business processes or application systems. So application control is specific to the software. It is not for the entire organization. It is specific to the business part. Next. Now, why do we have application control? To ensure accurate and reliable processing, to ensure that all transactions and data remains authorized, complete, accurate, and valid during its input, update, and storage. Simple points. Then examples also they give. Only transactions of the day will be processed by the system. That is, you cannot process backdated transaction or future dated transaction. This is what application control does. So if a person wants to withdraw his amount and he comes today and gives his withdrawal slip. So can I, as a bank employee, can I put tomorrow's date and give him money today? No. Can I put yesterday's day and give him money? No. The software will not allow. So in my passbook, it will always be today's date. Okay, it cannot be of yesterday or tomorrow. Excess drawing permitted only if authorized. So that is, let us say, I am allowed to, my credit card limit, let us say, is 50,000 rupees. But I want to purchase something which costs 51,000 rupees. So extra 1,000 rupees I want. Can I simply swipe and pay? No, I have to obtain a permission from the branch manager and he can extend my limit. So these are all IT controls. If I don't get the permission from the bank manager, I cannot pay even one single paisa more than 50,000 rupees. So that is inbuilt to the software. That is your question number 5. Now, we'll go to question number 6. All key modules of banking are all connected and related transactions are interfaces with central server. Explain. Okay, let's explain this. Now, I want you to understand how banking servers or how banking technology aspect takes place. Okay, so there is this main computer called as central server. This is a central server. Now, this server has different modules. This server has different modules. Modules means small softwares. Module is equal to small software. For example, there will be a separate software for giving loans. There will be a separate software for credit card, giving credit card. There will be a separate software to handle all the deposit related transaction. So there will be a different separate software for various other aspects of the bank. For example, for compliance, for payment of tax, for filing the returns. So there is a separate small software. So I call it as back operations. So again, this back operations will have again small softwares. For example, for GST, again a small software. For TDS, something else. For other income tax, there is something else. Okay. So now they are talking about CBS is based on, not this, sorry. Okay. So all key modules. Now, what do you mean by module? Module means small softwares that are all connected. They're all connected to central server. Explain. So you're supposed to explain the different modules which are connected to the central server. So first thing is, one small software which is connected to the central server is called as back office. So back office, what do they do? In back office, first important thing that you need to understand is they do regulatory compliance. They do regulatory compliance, TDS, GST, everything is done by back office. Next, they do the accounting of the bank. They do the accounting of the bank. For example, revenue recognition. How much of income should be recognized this year? How much should be carried to the next year? All these things done by back office. Next, so that is all to do with back office. Simple. If you understand that, more than enough. Next, let us go to data warehouse. So what is data warehouse? So data warehouse is nothing but a huge, okay, think it like a huge hard disk. Okay, it is a huge hard disk. Simple. So what do? They store the data. They store the data of all the customers. Simple, that's it. Next, then there is credit card system. So what is this credit card system? This is one more software module. So what is the function of this credit card system? Simply put, let us say you as a customer, you will go to where? Let us say you go to Reliance Digital. You go to Reliance Digital and you want to purchase a phone. And you select a phone also. Let us say you selected a Samsung phone, which costs, let us say, 60,000 rupees. Now they will ask, sir, sir or ma'am, do you want to pay immediately or do you want to pay through credit card? What will you say? You will say, I want to pay through credit card. Now they will give you one small machine, and to that machine you will swipe your card. Correct? This is what happens. So now when you swipe your card, what exactly happens, which you can't see, is your device, whatever that you're swiping, no, that device will communicate to your credit card module of your bank. Now this credit card module will say, okay, so this small machine will ask, what is the name of the customer? Okay, so the credit card module will say, okay, the customer is Mr. X. Then it will say the limit, he can purchase up to 1 lakh rupees. So this machine now can identify that, okay, you are X. Now you have limit of 1 lakh rupees. So if you want to purchase an item worth 60,000 rupees, then the credit card module will say, yes, transaction is approved. Can be done, it is approved. So then what will happen? Your payment becomes successful. An invoice is printed, which is given to you, and you can walk out with your phone. So many technological aspects happening in the back end. So do I have to really know what are these things? I will say no. Okay, no, it is not your subject. But you need to understand how that machine communicates to the server. Okay, so next. So what is this credit card system? Credit card system provides customer management, credit card management, account management, customer information management, and general ledger functions. Provides online transaction authorization, which says, okay, whether the transaction is authorized or not. You are supposed to put your PIN. It would also say whether the PIN is proper or not. If it is not proper, transaction is declined. Okay. Next, one more module, one more small software which is connected is something called as automated teller machines. So what is the function of ATM? You know it better. Let me not explain it to you. You don't have to go to bank. You can go to ATM machine and you can put your debit card and you can draw your money. Next, then they are talking about central server. So now we are talking about the main server, which is connected to the modules. So central server, initially, it used to take at least a day for transaction to get reflected in the real account, because each branch had their local servers and the data from servers in each branch was sent in a batch to the servers in the data center only at the end of the day. All the bank's branches access applications from centralized servers. Therefore, any deposits made in any branch are reflected immediately and customer can withdraw money from any other branches in the world. So if I have to put it in a very simple example and tell it to you, earlier days, what would happen is, let us say a bank, which bank? Let us take Canara Bank. Now, Canara Bank had, let us say, branch number 1, branch number 2, branch number 3, branch number 4. Now, all these branches has their own software, okay? Has their own software, and they would enter all the software details. At the end of the day, what they would do is they would send all the transaction details to data warehouse. And this data warehouse was connected to, this data warehouse was connected to what? It was connected to central server. But now this is not the end of day transaction. It is not an end of day transaction. It is instant transaction. Okay, it is a instant transaction. So let us say in branch number 1, you deposit 10,000 rupees. Immediately it will be updated in data warehouse. So let us say somebody wants to draw the cash. Okay, somebody is standing in branch number 4 and he wants to draw the cash. He can immediately draw the cash. Why? Because data warehouse is updated on a, spontaneously, instantly, and central server will say, yes, this guy has money. You can draw whatever the amount is deposited in branch number 1. That is what central server point is. Next, let us talk about branch banking. Now, so there is a separate software module called as branch banking, in which the bank employees, using which bank employees can access this central server. Okay. So, see, now what is the difference between internet banking and branch banking is, in internet banking, customer logs into the system. As a customer, you log into the system. But as a branch bank login, you don't log into the system. It is the bank employee who logs into the system. So all that you do in the branch banking is you go and give him the request and he processes the request. But in internet banking, you yourself process the request. So if you want to transfer money from your bank account to somebody else's bank account using internet banking, you yourself do it. But in branch banking, you ask the employees by filling all these slips and they will do it for you. So there is a separate software for internet banking. That is a module altogether. We are not going to discuss that module, because if you go on discussing all the modules, then it becomes, this chapter alone becomes 1,000 pages. So we are just handpicking some of the important modules and we are discussing. So here there is one more module called as branch module, in which branch employees can access the central server. Clear with question number 6? Any questions that you got? Okay, so I see no questions. So let us go to question number 7. So it is already 1 o'clock, but I'll take this one more question. Okay, so in tomorrow's class, we will try to extend as much as possible and try to, do all the core topics. Okay, so what is core banking system? Oh, again, core comes again. So what is core? Core means centralized, online, real-time environment. Okay, so earlier days it was not CBS. Earlier it was not core banking system. Earlier it was just banking system. So in banking system, what would happen? I told you, there are 4 branches who would send the details only to the data warehouse only at the end of the day, and it would take minimum 1 day for it to be updated in the central server. But now it is not that way. Everything is centralized. Now, what do you mean by centralized? One bank has one central server. So all the branches are connected to that central server. So that is what centralized is. What is online? Online means it is all with the help of internet. Then real-time environment, that is you deposit money, at the same time it gets updated there. So there is no lag. Okay, so this is called as core, centralized, online, real-time environment. Okay, so what is core banking? So this is the first point. See, in examination also, you are not supposed to write an answer in paragraphs. You are supposed to break your answers into points. So first point is you write what is the full form of core banking. Next, core banking system is a set of basic software components. So I said software components means modules that manages the service provided by a bank to its customers through its branches and other points of transactions. So CBS is CBS is not one software. Okay, so CBS is a what do I say, a collection of different software modules. I said for loan there is a different module, for credit card there's a different module, for branch banking there's a different module, internet banking there's a different module. So everything put together you call it as CBS. You call it as CBS. So core banking system is a set of basic software components that manages the entire banking services. Okay. Next point is, a bank's CBS functions as a heart and also its nervous system in the electronic world. Very general point. They say it is all connected to each other. It is all the branches are connected to each other at the real time. So it is a nervous system. It is a nervous system. And it is also heart. It is, if your central server fails, no banking transaction can happen. So 3 days back, or 3-4 days back, your SBI server was down for some time. Okay, SBI server was down for some time, and I was literally struggling to withdraw the cash from ATM. So you go to the ATM, you don't get the cash out because server was down. So that is where, if the server goes down, entire banking activity goes down. That is where it becomes the heart of the banking activity. Next, CBS is a platform where communication technology and information technology are merged to suit the core needs of banking. So we use communication technology, we use information technology. So communication technology basically means all the informations are communicated to the central server within fractions of seconds, So we are not just using internet. We are not just using internet to do the activity, but to update the data in the central server. So CBS is a platform where you use communication technology as well. You also use information technology to give banking services to your customers. So by this, we discussed 7 questions, and here we come to the end of today's session. Now, again, before I wind up this session, let me clarify one thing. Chapter number 5, you should only read after reading chapter number 1, 2, and 3. Till then, you should not come to chapter number 5 because it will confuse you. Once you understand chapter number 1, 2, 3, understanding chapter number 5 is easy because most of the concepts are covered there. So if you are, because of yesterday's examination extension, if you are thinking to write both the groups, don't start with chapter number 5, start with chapter number 1, 2, 3 first. Okay, then come to chapter number 5. The rest of the aspects we will discuss tomorrow, and I will try to cover most of the things in tomorrow's class. All right, any questions you have, you can ask, or else you can post in once in discussion forum. Okay, let's meet tomorrow.